Day 2 of making $5,000 in the hood in 30 days with no connections, no nothing. We are in Coney Island, starting off in Seagate, the West End, looking for business opportunities and just see what's out there, see who's in the market, who are the players, what are the businesses, and see what we can do. And also, today's June 2nd, I am on my rollerblades, so I could get in a good little workout. Got my Apple Watch over here, and that's what we're gonna do. This is probably gonna be a long video, so if you're curious about what it's like to make money in the hood, if there is any opportunity out here, and just what New York City, Coney Island, Brooklyn looks like, stay tuned. This is it. So right now, Seagate is a private community that's been around for like over 100 years. What's interesting is this was actually, back in the day, like 100, 200, well, I'd say like the 1800s. This was actually a luxury community. This is where like Vanderbilt and all those Rockefellers and all those guys lived. It was like separated from New York City through swamps and marshland, which was like impossible to get here. And they would get here on their boats. And this community originally didn't have any of these like houses and stuff. So I'm gonna flip the camera. So originally it didn't have much of these houses. These are now all mostly middle class, working class houses. Back in the day, the billionaires would chill out here by the beach. That's why they call it Seagate, because the sea is over there, the Atlantic Ocean. And now I'd say Seagate is mostly, I'd say it's like 50% Hasidic Jew. It's like a very religious Jews. They've got their church, they've got their community. And then it's mostly Russian speaking people. I speak fluently Russian. And part of this challenge also is to not use any of my existing connections while I'm out here trying to make $5,000 in 30 days. I gotta just come up with whatever I can see. As you can see, it's mostly like, single family houses. I'd say it's mostly all middle class over here. On this part over here by the water, more upper class houses. So this is a private gated community, Seagate. It's on the west end of Coney Island. It's like almost impossible to get there if you don't have a car. And what's interesting is right outside of Seagate, right outside of this gate is the hood. It's like the straight up hood. Projects, shootouts, robberies, gang activity, all that stuff. Seagate's kind of a safe place, even though it's right by the hood. It's kind of a strange community because, my grandmother lived here when I was a kid, and I'd spend a lot of my time here. And, you've got a lot of working class immigrant families that came from the Soviet Union to build a better life. And a lot of their kids got caught up with a lot of illicit activities out there in the hood, getting in trouble. I got caught up with some stuff like that back when I was a teenager. It's also why I'm doing this challenge, to show people that there's always opportunity. There's always opportunity. There's always a way to make money honestly and legitimately by offering mutual value. Even if you're in a low-income neighborhood, even if it seems like nothing is going on, there's always opportunity out there. So that's why I'm doing this challenge in 30 days. Because also, as I mentioned in day 1, I kind of took a long 2-year break from media production, which was my business. Just spending time with the family, reflecting, chilling, working on my own personal projects. And now it's time to get back into the grind, the hustle. But I want to come back with a different approach, more about building relationships. So that's kind of what I'm doing now. But back to Seagate. As you see, it's, quiet community. There's a beach over there. These are all mostly middle-class homes. The more inland you get from the water, the more the class difference is. Over on this side is like, super upper middle class, high income homes. More over here is the middle class, and the block after that is like working class rentals, old stuff. So this one I'm talking about, this is where the Rockefellers, they didn't live here particularly, but this is how it used to look. But this is a lot of, that's the lighthouse. So this has been there for like 200 years. So I'll show you guys really quick. So this lighthouse, this has been there for a really long time. And I see I got like Hasidic Jewish families here. This is like the lighthouse, old buildings, old stuff. And now as I go over here to the water, this is where there's a beach. And over here, it's not really much of a beach on this part. Here it's kind of a busted, just like a busted bay. There's a little bit of beach over there, but they have a private beach over on that side. I'll show you guys a sneak peek, but that's pretty much what's out here. As I mentioned, this used to be kind of like a retreat for the ultra wealthy 200 years ago, and they'd have their private homes here because it's totally segregated and separate from the mainland of New York because it's like swamps and marshes. I'll show you guys in a little while as I get to these areas. By the 1900s, it actually became, with trains and railroads, they started creating like an amusement park. Luna Park, all these different variations of the park. It burned and got destroyed many times over, but in the 1900s up until the 1920s, it was a pretty prosperous area. A lot of money moving, a lot of wealth, a lot of people coming here, over to the boardwalk, to Coney Island, the Wonder Wheel. Now I guess they built all these houses here in Seagate. I wanted to show you guys kind of this area. And right now it's all mostly resident. The people here work in the city. They work in Coney Island. They live here. Most of them work corporate jobs, city jobs, government jobs, like, you know, more mid-tier management types of jobs. Or they work in the nursing healthcare industry as nurses, doctors, senior caregivers. And that's kind of the wealth out here. For the majority, most people here are working class immigrants from Ukraine, from Russia. I'm seeing a lot of Indian people move here for the first time. And I'll show you this old burned down house over here. This is the beach. So this is the private beach. It's open to people that live here. I'm not gonna go there with my rollerblades, but you know, people that live here can go on this beach. It's not really much different than the outside public beach. It just has that level of privacy. So right now it's almost summer out here. Little cafe shack's not open yet. But pretty much the people out here, most of them are working. I'd say the incomes are like 50 to maybe 70K a year. Working class people. Most of them are renting these homes. They're not buying them. The stuff by the water, these houses, a lot of them are privately bought, but for the most part, these houses more inland are rentals. I see people that work 9 to 5 jobs. Regarding business inside of Seagate, if they have an association, maybe I could help them save costs or generate more revenue, because my background is pretty much in digital marketing, building funnels, media content. Maybe I could help out the association, get more rentals, more money coming in so they can fix these roads, because they've been fixed them a million times over again. Or maybe, you know, automate their process of renewals, because everybody here has to have a parking pass. So maybe I could automate that or set up reminders or something so I could talk to them. Otherwise, you know, it's mostly churches and synagogues here. Very religious Jewish community. They all kind of keep to themselves. Yeah, but they're cool. They're pretty chill. They mind their own business. They don't make any noise. They've been here for a while. Then you've got this corner over here, which is like the super luxury private corner. I think this guy over here used to own one of the clubs here in Coney Island. I think it closed. But this is basically the corner where super big money over here. Not sure what they do. Check her out. You see, you got the Rolls Royce. And you got the old school housing over here, like 1900s, 1800s type housing. This right there, which we'll check out in a moment, is a brand new luxury rental development they just built a few years ago, which has been kind of stagnant because, as you see, the hood is right over there where there's very dangerous crime, all kinds of stuff. So we're gonna come back to Seagate toward the end, but for now we're just kind of circling. This is where a lot of stuff is happening, and I'm gonna just come out of here. So now we're exiting. This is Seagate. This is the beach, the boardwalk. Now I'll go there just briefly because now it's mostly made out of wood. So actually, yeah, I'll come up over here. So this is the beach club, actually. Inside of Seagate is the beach club, private business. Maybe I could do something with them. Jewish community center. So now we're about to hit the boardwalk. They recently rebuilt this area with a new development to make it like concrete. Partially, because I see it's wooden and it's going to be kind of hard to skate. I don't want to break through this wood because it's always falling apart. But this is basically the Coney Island boardwalk, and I think it's like 5 miles stretch or 3.5 mile stretch. And this is the beach. So as you can see, I was saying there's the private beach inside of Seagate, and right over here is the public beach. Not much of a difference, almost identical. And then you have this new luxury rental over here. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it may be entirely private development where it's not government funded. So usually I like working with private developments. My background was in real estate production and marketing back in Miami. Kind of curious to see what these guys are about. I know at nighttime most of these units are dark. There's no light in the building. It's like 30% occupied. So it's basically sitting vacant. And it's hard to rent because the hood is right over there. And there's actually a shootout and a murder like a few blocks over there. A lot of gang activity and stuff. And now we're in the west end of Coney Island. And this is basically how it is. We're on 37th Street. I gotta then search these guys, see what they're up to, check out their funding and financing online. All the stuff's public. See how they're marketing their stuff. I gotta say, I usually like to work with private developers because whenever you work with government-subsidized funded developers that have like affordable housing or Section 8, they don't really care about their marketing because these developers are getting paid most of the time just to build the building. They made their money, and then pretty much the government has a whole waiting list of applicants on Section 8 or affordable housing or whatever it may be, and they fill these units pretty fast. It kind of naturally fills itself up, so they don't usually need much marketing. And that was my experience back in New Jersey when I lived in New Jersey. I worked with a lot of kind of subsidized developers, and they don't really care too much about their image. But here in Coney Island, these guys, I gotta double check. I don't think they have any affordable units, so it could be an opportunity to get them more clientele because they have this beach. And basically they have like this thing that opens up during the summer, I guess. But as you see, it's concrete over here. And then I'm gonna walk over there and you've got pretty much the projects, the hood. And all these buildings actually came here in the 1950s, 1940s, 1950s. through the urban renewal project in Coney Island. As I mentioned, it used to be like an amusement park, used to be a very active place because people would take the train here from the city. It became very cheap and affordable for people to come here. So there's actually like a booming economy here. A lot of activity, a lot of money being moved. What happens, you started getting all these like shanty shacks and tenements, I guess is what they're called. Now here's the wooden, what I'm talking about. So this wood, yeah, it's kind of hard to skate on this. I'll just show you guys briefly. But then they started getting a lot of tenements, and like basically those like old school apartments that like 10 people live in a single apartment with no toilet, no water, kind of run down, very slum-like. And the city originally, with good intentions, wanted to get involved and build nice public housing. It's a standard, and it always starts off with good intentions. Always, when the government gets involved, good intentions, good ideas, good words, and before you know it, they built all this public housing over here. And once the budgets dried up and the money ran out, they became kind of slums, and a lot of crime activity, a lot of concentrated poverty. They basically would take all the poor people all across New York and move them here. When you got a lot of poor people that are broke and struggling, you end up with a lot of criminal activity, which is kind of what has plagued Coney Island for the last 50 to 70 years since they built these projects. Because originally they were all shiny. These were all beautiful homes, but then became dilapidated. They have no funding, no budgets. And then whenever people try to build real estate like condos, this has actually been vacant since 2016. Hopefully I don't get hurt right now. I'm gonna come down over here, try to film myself while I'm, oh man, back on the sidewalk. But this right here behind me is a private building that was for sale. Look at that, 2016 September, still not sold. Let's pop a U really quick. And that's kind of been the issue with Coney Island, is you have all this public government housing and stuff, but none of it could sell because nobody wants to buy expensive townhomes or apartments. Yeah, it's by the boardwalk, but it's right across from the projects where there's drugs and gang activity and violence. And then you've got these kind of dilapidated areas. And that's kind of the issue that this building is facing, this new condo, is that, yeah, you've literally, that's a senior home over there. But over here on Surf Avenue, this is kind of like the main street. But Coney Island used to pretty much all look like this. I remember as a kid growing up like 10, 15 years ago, all just kind of garbage and junk and overgrown everything. Maybe these guys, this building, could use some help with their marketing. Maybe they could, you know, I could check them out, give them a quick audit, see if we can help them lower their costs with something. Yeah, this is so far what Coney Island is. You got the Dwyer Gardens projects over there. All this stuff is constantly under construction. A lot of noise. I actually checked out these guys' marketing, and yeah, their videos and stuff were nice, and they conveniently left out all this background. Because obviously, once you come here and you see what you're surrounded by, you don't really want to spend $4,000 or $5,000 a month on an apartment. Even though it's by the beach, you are literally right across the street from the hood. That building right there is actually a senior elderly living. And that's one thing here in Coney Island, is a lot of the people here are old. A lot of them are seniors, you know, they're 65, 70 plus, 80s. They all have Medicaid. They all had kind of working class jobs their entire life. And now a lot of them, you know, they barely have any social security, so they live in the senior homes, senior centers, if they can get approved for something. And that's kind of how it is. Otherwise, in these projects, a lot of low income, lower class people. Some of them are total poverty level. I'd say the income in these buildings is less than 30K, even like under 25K. And the ones that are employed usually have city municipal jobs, like, you know, bus drivers, train operators, etc. I think this is a private apartment building. So right now on Surf, this is mostly a residential boulevard up until we get to Stillwell Avenue, which is all the way over there where the train station is. People here basically take the bus to work. If I lived here full time, I definitely would skate. But all this government public housing, school buses, public schools. And when it comes to right now my 5K challenge of making money here in the hood, I don't want to work with government buildings. I don't want to work with anything government related, because they have bureaucracy, all these middlemen, all these agencies, all these approval, all these people. And right here actually is where this guy died. I was driving my car. I was literally driving my car right there. And this dude got glocked out right there in the corner. Pile of blood. Cops didn't even come yet. The dude was just bleeding out. Big pile of blood right there. Deli, food, all that stuff. Projects. And there's our luxury building. So that's kind of the issue. So you've got the Coney Island houses. That's like, what, like 3 blocks away? Straight up murders and violence. So I would say it's not as bad as it used to be like 20 years ago. Definitely getting a little bit more safer out here for the most part. But still, the problem is you got all these people that want to build, you know, nice apartments, as we'll see in just a moment. They want to revitalize the community, but it's so hard to run a business here because the people here don't have any income, and you're basically you're challenged with, hey, you can pretty much open up a laundromat, a barber shop, a deli, medical supplies. That's literally all we have here. you see it's just deli, medicals. You're gonna see a lot of these. Medical, deli, smoke shops and laundromats, and maybe like salons and barber shops. This is pretty much the majority of businesses we see here. Why? Because it's cheap, super cheap. I think that's like a YMCA center, public gym. And this is an entire senior living center over here. Again, more old people that live here because, you know, they have limited income. And this is, again, the projects. This is the hood. Right now, I'm making my way towards Stillwell Avenue down over there, where that's where the amusement park is. That's where the train station is. And this is where they're also building a lot of new development. And as I was saying, the problem with these developments is a lot of them are government subsidized, where they have tax abatements, where they don't pay property taxes for like 100 years. So they don't really care who moves in. And the community becomes dilapidated like this because there's no business. There's no real prosperity. There's no restaurants. There's no financial activity because they build these buildings and it's like nobody lives there. I think this is like a public city. Let's see what's over here. Yeah, I think that, oh, this is where they keep all the lifeguard equipment for the beach. It's like all the public beach equipment. So I'm not working with any city stuff. So my goal with this challenge is to find private businesses, private enterprise, because there's no middlemen, no people that I have to deal with. I'm dealing straight with the owner. They understand the numbers. Hey, if it makes sense, let's do it. If I can save the money, let's do it. If I can make the money, let's do it. So my goal is just right now to scout the area, see what's out here. And so far, I think Seagate has been the only place where I see an opportunity. Maybe the beach club or the actual HOA over there. But so far, it's all just public housing. Let's pop a right turn over here. Show you guys the old world architecture of Coney Island. So here. So as you see, this is now all public housing. And before, it used to look like this is an example of an old-fashioned building. This right here is an old-fashioned building. This was probably built like 1930s, 1940s. You can see from the tips over there, the tops of the mountains, you see those like coral, seashells and stuff. Usually the stuff by the water is a little bit newer. So this is a newer building. That is a elderly rehabilitation center. And all these rehabilitation centers are all Medicaid funded, free health care. They used to have a bunch of buildings that look like that, but then they demolished them and they built buildings like that back in the 1940s, 1950s. And then you've got the boardwalk over there. So I'm gonna just show you guys what's going on. I'll make a right turn on the other street. I think there was if I remember correctly, there was a building over there that was like super old. This is how it used to look, Coney Island. Buildings like that, they were more dilapidated. And then they basically demolished all those to build these, which are now basically even more dilapidated. Not much happening. And also, I think it was Hurricane Sandy back in like 2012. All these roads got busted. A lot of stuff got flooded and destroyed, and they still haven't really fixed a lot of it. They're slowly, like after 10 years, they're finally fixing stuff. But this is Coney Island. This is the West End. This is currently where I'm temporarily residing. But here, as I mentioned, we have a lot of delis, a lot of grocery stores, a lot of bodegas. This might actually be an interesting street over here. I think, yeah, these buildings, for example, these are super old. So these used to be like the shanty buildings over here. These old school kind of garages. Over here, it's like more these brick buildings, you know, 1930s. 1920s, these old style apartments. These are all ancient apartments, old buildings. These are from like 1930s, 1940s. And then actually I've seen a lot of camper vans out here, a lot of RVs. People just set up shop over here, they chill. So if you're living the digital nomad life, Coney Island could be a good place to stealth camp. And this is more with a Seacrest senior living. So that's the thing, a lot of seniors live here. All Medicaid funded, taxpayer funded. The reason I'm mentioning this is because the people that run these Medicaid medical offices, they're not really too caring about marketing and making money because all their money comes from insurance for Medicaid. So they're getting their paycheck regardless. And because everybody here has Medicaid, everybody here is technically low income, poverty level, they all got insurance. The medical offices, they just bill whatever they want as much as they can. And that's why back in the 90s, early 2000s, there was a lot of medical fraud out here where doctors would just find some grandma with like 90 years old and build the insurance company everything. They'd run every possible procedure on her and rack up as much money as they can. And now they've gotten more strict with, you know, Medicaid and all that stuff, but it still happens, you know. That's why there's a lot of drug epidemics out here. So these are actually old, like 1900s buildings. So if you want to imagine Coney Island, this is how it looked like 100 years ago. All these, oh shit, ooh, 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 fuck. Busted my ass on this hole. Ooh, ooh, yeah. Oh, fuck. How the fuck did I not see that? Oh, man, I fell on my ass. Ooh, shit. Let's get the camera. Oh, man. This fucking hole fell on my ass. Oh, man. Ooh. Yeah, fuck, that hurt. Yeah, this fucking hole behind me. Oh, man, I cut my arm. Ooh. The bus passed right over me. Because we're in the hood. This happens every day. Oh, man, hopefully my ass is good. Ooh, shit. So, yeah, fuck. Gotta pay attention now, because these roads are really busted. As I was saying, Hurricane Sandy. Shit, at least I didn't fuck my camera up. Oh man, Oh man, these holes, maybe that's a lawsuit. Looking for opportunity in the hood, maybe that actually could be a financial opportunity right there, because I got it on camera. There's a big ass hole right there, and I busted my ass and cut my elbow. So that's why there's a lot of activity, lawyers and accountants here in the hood, because people are out here constantly getting hit by cars and busting their ass, and I just busted my ass and hurt my elbow. Good thing I didn't break my arm, but it's nothing good. It's a little bing bang, but let me just sit up. Oh man, I'm a fat boy, busting my ass. Yes, I skated right over this hole. You see, it's like a hole. Dangerous, New York City. It's a lawsuit right there. It's like $10 million. Comment below how much money I can get for this lawsuit. Maybe we can get like rack up a few milli. Maybe we'll exceed this challenge. Ooh, life in the hood. So as I was saying, this building right behind me, a lot of them, for example, these, like as you see these, as I was saying, a lot of buildings in Coney Island used to look like this, single story complexes like that. Almost all of Coney Island had these types of complexes, these delis, and now they have all this new development happening, new construction. All this is government subsidized, affordable housing, Section 8. It's gonna be kind of hard to market to them. We'll see. It's worth a try to stop in. I'm just documenting. All this is like the straight public housing, and just imagine all of Coney Island used to have buildings like this, and then that's the amphitheater, and then over the years they kind of tore them down. 1940s and 50s, they had the urban revitalization project where they basically demolished all these homes, but they basically kicked all these people out. They displaced all these people that lived in these homes, and they said, oh, we're gonna fight poverty and improve the living conditions, but people now just straight up got kicked out of their homes, gentrified and kicked out, moved elsewhere, and then in its place they built all these big buildings where 70 years ago they looked nice, but now they're run down, dilapidated, Cary Gardens, kind of ghetto, and there's not much prosperity out here. They are building affordable housing, new complexes, and as I mentioned, these developers, since it's all government subsidized, they get the tax abatement, which in short means they don't pay taxes for like 100 years. So all the people that live in these buildings, they use the amenities, they use the public schools, they use the streets, they use all this. Buildings not paying taxes, so the city has no money to fund the infrastructure for this area, so it becomes dilapidated and run down, and not much happens out here. Well, the developers all got money, they got paid to build these things, and now they got paid that nice big chunk of money that they don't owe taxes on for 100 years. So they're gonna die. You don't gotta worry about it, because nobody lives past 100. And basically, this is how it is. This is how it all started. So all this new luxury development started off kind of like that. So history kind of repeats itself in different ways. But here's a beautiful example of how buildings used to look. This is like a 1900s building. This is probably like a 1970s, 80s building. I remember when none of this existed. I actually shot a student film here when I was a kid. We're on 22nd Street. That's the amusement park. This is the amphitheater. They have a lot of musical concerts here. That's another old building. I'm gonna take this road. I've never been here before. It's a different road. But they're building, all this stuff is residential. And then again, businesses. We got a deli, got a medical plaza, religious places, into pizza. It's all fast food, restaurants, cheap stuff, because nobody has money out here in the hood. So that's why this challenge is gonna be a challenge, because we gotta make $5,000 in the hood. And this is a whole new street. This is the Luna Park amusement tower. I've never been here before. Boardwalk. Let's see what's going on out here. Boar's Head. Never seen them over here. Gonna actually pop a U. Let's just first see what we got over here. This is a big parking lot. This is the Coney Island Maimonides Park baseball place. They have like little kids league baseball tournaments over here. People used to jump off that in the day, parachutes. Now it's closed for public. And that's Luna Park, the amusement park, which we'll cover in just a moment. But over here, this whole section, Coney Island used to just be big parking lots that are overgrown like this. Now they're building all this new housing. That's actually the welfare center. EBT, Medicaid, food stamp. I call it the Pogey House. It's where you go get your benefits. This is all public, subsidized, affordable, also all affordable. Gotta research this, I don't know 100%, but most likely it's affordable. But I wanna go over here to show you guys something. I'm gonna check all this stuff when I get home, see if I can reach out to these developers or the real estate agencies that are doing their marketing. Maybe I can help them out. We'll see what we can do. Maybe there's opportunities with them. I am leaning more towards the one all the way at the bottom, the Ocean Drive guys. I think they were private. But I wanna show you guys over here, the amphitheater, which is an old building that's like 150 years old. It's like one of the oldest buildings here in Coney Island. And now it's like super old school architecture. The front, usually now it's like a venue. I always see different types of clients here. Every summer it's either a restaurant or some different club. They always have different activities. Hopefully I don't bust my ass again on these boardwalks. But this right here is the amphitheater. I'll show you in just a moment. So we're going right to the beach. So now we're at the beach, the boardwalk. It's a real boardwalk. So as you see, we got the whole boardwalk over here. That's the jump tower back in the day. Здорово. Вы выглядите как сосед. Все, очень такой же взгляд.
Напоминаю, да?
Да, сосед живет, может, у тебя там брат живет. Одинаково, как будто братья. Может, вы потерянные братья. Всего, до свидания. So this is the building I was talking about over here. This is the Coney Island Amphitheater. This building is like super old. And like I said, now they have a restaurant, VIP entrance. Usually they're involved with the amphitheater. They got musicians and rappers and like Beyonce and stuff. And then they come and eat here. I think maybe they're run by the city. I know the amphitheater is city involved, city people. Curious how they rent this out. Is it private? Is it city? Gotta research it. But this is the boardwalk. It's literally made out of boards. It's a real boardwalk. It's kind of hard to skate on because your wheels get stuck in there. But this is the actual beach. Actually, I'll skate back down. I don't want to get stuck on this. Let's see how steep this is. Oh, that's a staircase. Oh, that's the boardwalk. All right, getting ahead of myself. Thought that was a staircase. So right now it's already June, so it's already getting to be summer. I think the water's still cold, but right now we're gonna skate back down, and hopefully I don't bust my ass on my skates. There's concrete, and now we are gonna make a right because I want to check out what's happening over here. Also, the road here is new because they're building it. So yeah, people back in the day, I think like, you know, back like in the 1920s used to jump off this thing with their parachutes. Definitely has not been active since. That is Luna Park. It's had like 5 different names. I'm going to now, oh man, the street's closed, but that's kind of steep, so I can't climb down this. I don't want to bust my ass. This guy's working on something over there. Yeah, actually, maybe I can squeeze through this. This is how we save money in the hood. Always looking for a shortcut. Let's see if I can fit through this gap over here. I'm on rollerblades. I think I can do it. That's going to be a steep jump, but I can fit right through this crack, which is what we're going to do. Yep. There we go. And that's life in the hood. That's a prime example. Always looking for a shortcut. And now we're back on the main road. Because in life, you get sidetracked, you find a shortcut, but then you get back on the main path, which is right over there, and that's what we're doing. So this is the Maimonides baseball place. I think they have like a bar there. Not sure if it's private business, I gotta check. A lot of government involvement out here. This is actually the Pogie House. On the other side of it is the government Medicaid office. I went there so many times to do my grandma's stuff. That's also another problem I want to mention, is a lot of these buildings, all their commercial spaces are for lease, and they never get rented because there's no real business out here. And when they do get rented, usually they're rented by like a Medicaid office or a pharmacy. I'm actually very curious to hear how this beauty lady is doing. And also usually they either have initiatives or the rent is super high. But I'll show you guys 3 more buildings. Most of them are all empty. Actually, this one would be a good example. This is actually one of the, I think they have a bagel shop, but that's basically like the whole ground floor is empty. It's been empty for like 5 years. Yeah, you see the whole ground floor is empty. And this happens in so many government subsidized buildings. It's like, yeah, they build this whole thing. Developers make their bread. There's almost no tenants because the only tenants here are the 30% affordable low-income people, but they have no real private tenants because nobody wants to pay $4,000, $5,000 a month to live in a building across the street from the hood. And then there's no businesses here because when you go over here, all this stuff is vacant. It's all open for rent. See space for rent. All this is for rent. Retail space available. I'm curious what the rent is here. I want to actually Google it. Retail space. And there's like a bagel, Cyclone Bagels. Curious how they're doing. It's a private business probably. Most businesses like that on the corner. Delis, bodegas, laundromats. Very curious to see. So I'm definitely going to get back on the Google and search these people and reach out to them once I do my hood audit. But let's go back up. Again, the reason these buildings never are able to fill their bottom tenants is because the rent is expensive. Like the commercial rent, I'm just guessing here, but could be like, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10 grand down here. Usually super expensive. And the people that live here are all low income and don't have money to spend at these businesses. And even if they do spend at these businesses, they don't have enough cash flow and sales volume to pay their rent. So they mostly stay vacant. And the only people that make money on these buildings are the subsidized developers that work hand in hand with the government and get their tax abated, zero interest financing to build these complexes where they get paid to build this stuff. So I don't want to go on a rant about, you know, tax abatements and government stuff, a whole other conversation, but it's kind of what has been happening here in Coney Island for the last 100 years, which has led to this super stagnant economy. No prosperity, no money. It's been the same forever. So this is kind of the Brooklyn Cyclones. I think it's like a baseball place. Another, I think that's like a medical, yeah, Brooklyn, South Health. Any business that opens up here is always health related, doctors, Medicaid. All of it's Medicaid funded. I'm very curious to see how these guys are funded, Brooklyn Cyclones. And it's another building, Apteka, that's a pharmacy. I speak fluent Russian. Apteka, see, it's a pharmacy, medical, for lease. All this stuff is health, Medicaid, because they're getting paid insurance regardless. And then this is a new building. I think they may be partially subsidized, but I'm curious. Maybe we can do their marketing stuff, check them out. That's an old school building over here. And now we're gonna approach Luna Park over here. And summer is now in season, summer season, but it usually, I guess, afternoon is when they're popping. Maybe they still haven't opened yet. But here's basically all the amusement parks. This is all private business. They're seasonal. They're only open a few times a year for a few months. So it's like, it's kind of feast or famine for these guys. It's like they have to make their money. They have to make those summer sales. I know in Corona, they were all shut down, so it hit them hard. A lot of them went out of business. But this is basically Luna Park, Coney Island. And these guys are now at summer season, so they're probably going to be prospering. Curious to connect with them. Not sure what their marketing looks like. Maybe I can help them save some money, most likely. Nathan's has been there for like 100 plus years. These guys are open year round because they are conveniently located on the corner across the street from the train station, where everybody that lives here has to go through each morning. They have to commute through this train station. But this is Nathan's Hot Dogs. They've been around for like 100 years. Pretty good hot dogs, but a little bit overpriced because the tourist center, Stillwell Avenue. I still prefer my Costco hot dogs. But there we got basically Dunkin' Donuts franchise, and that is Stillwell Avenue train station. And this building's been under construction forever. But this is basically, this is the new building I was talking about. Maybe, I think they're already open. They're trying to rent it out. I think they're partially affordable, and then rest the market, so we can maybe check them out. Nathan's Hot Dogs. This is Luna Park, the amusement park. Maybe, I think it used to be called Steeplechase Park. Otherwise, when it comes to food, you've got, you know, Nathan's private business. Then you have like White Castle, Pepper Palace. You have a lot of franchises, because only corporate franchises could really afford to stay open here year round and pay the rent. Most small business mom and pops, it's tough, especially when this place is only open on a seasonal basis. Then you've got like a beach shop. All this stuff is tourist. So most of these private businesses, all tourists, little restaurants, parking business. I guess we'll skate through that. That'd be kind of cool. That's a Cyclone. They closed it last year. Maybe they opened it again. But all these places, they make their money during the summer. This is the hot season. Bars and grills, restaurants. I don't know if I'm gonna go back on the boardwalk because of these skates, but I'll tell you, over there are a few more franchises, like food franchises, and I was there like 3 weeks ago, and I remember I bought a beer. A cup of beer was $14 for a little cup of beer. That shows you the pricing out here. Steeplechase Park. So this is where we're at right now. I'm gonna take you guys through the park with me. So I guess like right now with this whole new development, they're also thinking about building a casino here. I guess they're really trying to revitalize Coney Island. And I feel like it could have been an Atlantic City, Miami type of situation if they didn't do the urban renewal project. If they had just gone private to begin with 100 years ago, I feel like we'd be in a totally different world. Could have been a Miami type place. Now they're trying to do that. So now we're gonna go into here. Lots of fun activities. You know, it's fun to come here with your kids, your family, your girl, spend some bucks over the weekend. I don't know about coming there every day though. That's the old Wonder Wheel. I think that's been worth like 100 years. Yeah, it looks like the Cyclone's back in business. And those are actually, I think those are co-ops. Luna Park, the Wonder Wheel. I mean, right now it's already literally summer, so me reaching out to these businesses might be a little bit late. It's worth a shot. They probably started whatever their marketing efforts were last year, because like I said, they're seasonal. They're open only a few months a year, so it's like whatever they're doing this year, they started last year. But it's just interesting to see what we got going on. And now we're going back into the amusement park. I remember this like a spooky thing over here. Monsters. That's the Wonder Wheel. If you're gonna go on this, the ones that shake are more fun. I think it's like 20 bucks to get on this. Built 1920, it's like 100 years old. This is the spooky place over here. Yeah, it's like 10 bucks, 20 bucks to get on. So this place is definitely fun to come over the weekend with your family once in a while. A little pricey to keep coming here on dates though. Single out there to mingle. Worth definitely coming out here once in your life. It's fun. So this is Luna Park. And this is basically the main attraction here at Coney Island. This is the main attraction. This is the main thing happening out here. This is what they're mainly known for. This is why everybody comes to Coney Island, is to come to Luna Park, to come to the beach, come to the boardwalk. This is what people did when they came here 100 years ago. They would come here. It was actually a little bit further up by Brighton. It's where the Brighton Hotel was back in the 1900s. And then they basically rebuilt this park so many times. Now, you know, not many people are going out. They're not going to the amusement park. And if they do, they're going to a place like Six Flags or Universal Studios, where you just pay like a flat 150 bucks or whatever for the entire day, and you can ride all these different rides. Here, every ride is mostly like you gotta pay per ride, and each ride is like 20 bucks. So it gets real pricey. So here across the street is actually some private business. Let's see what we got. Maybe we got some opportunities over here. As we see right now, you actually have a lot of cannabis dispensaries popping up. Let's see if I can make this jump. Ooh, yeah, look at that. Tony Hawk over here. So right here, Sports Bar and Grill, cannabis dispensary, got an IHOP, another franchise, school buses, Dunkin' Donuts. So that's the thing, is a lot of franchises could afford to be here. Small business, space release, they all go out of business. And that's all like restaurants and stuff. Hook and Reel, another franchise. For rent, see, everybody's renting the booths. Maybe I'll pull a thumbnail out of that. This is it on Surf. You've got this amusement area. You've got a bunch of restaurants and franchises. That's the subway station over there, the train station that goes to Manhattan. Everybody that lives here uses that train station. Then you've got some private business and corporate business. This clothing store over here, not clothing store, I'm sorry, furniture store. They've been there for a while. Wholesale operations or logistics I can help them improve online. Mebel Baza, it's a Russian furniture store. Windows, maybe I can help these guys out. Sliding patios, steak and lobster. This is like a private restaurant. Dance and music lessons. I'm not sure if they look like they're in business. This is the famous Cyclone that looks like it's now back in business. And a pizzeria restaurant, corporate Starbucks. And I'm actually gonna go over here for a second. Let's check out the Cyclone. So right now as I'm filming this, I actually lost my microphone. And I spent 20 minutes looking for it, and luckily I have a backup. This is the Cyclone. It's been here for like 150 plus years. It's a wooden roller coaster, definitely worth trying at least once in your lifetime. So I'm about to get back on the road. Having some technical errors. This thing was at 100% when I left. No way it died that fast. Give me just a moment. Anyways, let's continue our tour of Coney Island. So we pretty much have reached the end over here. This is the Cyclone. A couple mishaps, busted my ass, lost one of my microphones. Hopefully this one stays on. And now we are basically at the end of Surf Avenue, almost. Over there is going to be the aquarium. I think it's also a city property. Making our way this way. Another corporate Starbucks. Let's actually get over here. Cyclone. And then over here is like the New York Aquarium. I think it's another government building. That's the Stillwell station. This whole thing is a big train station. They rebuilt it. These are all co-ops. I believe they used to be public housing. They were the original Michelama urban revitalization buildings. And they were public housing originally, but I think the developers sold it off and it became private co-ops. Make a whole other episode, but otherwise it's kind of interesting to show the difference between private co-ops. The neighborhood is a lot cleaner, a lot different versus straight up 100% government subsidized. But yeah, this video is not really about real estate. It's about Coney Island, looking for opportunities out here. So this is the aquarium. Not really sure what I would do with them, but that's the aquarium over there. And I'm gonna go all the way down here. Well, actually, I'm gonna take this street because there's a few businesses over there. Pretty much by the end of this street, Ocean Parkway is over there, and this is all just residential rentals and co-ops. And right here on West 8th Street is where we have a few businesses, franchises, the DMV, the police station. So this is what it is. This is West 8th Street, D station. So let's see what we can find. I know they have a lot of lawyers, traffic lawyers and stuff over here because DMV, I've been here so many times. Traffic tickets and motorcycle tickets. I think this is the police station. Yeah, these are all police cars. These are all co-ops, rentals. Brooklyn South precincts. Spent a lot of my teenage years here. 60th precinct. And let's see what we got going on. I think we have a plaza over here. That is like the Russian housing over here. A lot of Russian families live here. Old Russian people live there. Another deli. Quick eats, dental, medical. So that's again a common theme. Dentals, medicals, delis, pharmacies, space for rent. News going on out here. DMV, yeah. Channel 12, cell phones, hot chicken franchise. All we got out here. It's a lot of, see the pattern out here. A lot of the same type of business. Gyms, Blink Fitness franchise, NYU Langone Health. So again, more Medicaid, medical business. And then you got stores like Dollar Tree, 99-cent stores for clothing and Tupperwares and household appliances. I want to actually pop this right over here because they rebuilt. That is actually a Land Rover dealership. You know, Land Rovers are pretty expensive cars. I think that's the only dealership here in Coney Island for cars that's like not sold used. We're going to explore Neptune Avenue in just a moment because that's all Auto Mechanic Boulevard. But over here, the last part, we got the McDonald's franchise, a Georgian bakery business, private business, another deli situation, a liquor store. That's another thing. A lot of liquor stores here in the hood. Lots of liquor stores. A D&D, it's like a clothing appliance store, pretty cheap stuff. My grandma used to buy me clothes here when I was a kid. I was the D&D boy. You see, that's the kind of outfits you can get. There's the train going straight to the station. And again, convenience stores, urgent care, and the post office. A lot of the same old businesses. So what I'm going to do now, we're not going to go there because that's Brighton, West Brighton. That's a whole other area, a whole other neighborhood. That's a whole other exploration for another episode. Today we're doing Coney Island West End. So now I'm going to go to Neptune. And Neptune Avenue is actually where you'll find a lot of private business. It's all auto mechanics. Car washes, detailing shops, body shops, junk, scrap yards. That Range Rover place is the first They've been there for a few years now, but they are a dealership essentially for new cars. So I'm gonna try to safely make my way here without getting clipped. This is a church, a lot of churches and religious buildings out here. More development, I think that's another private apartment rental development. Let's see if we can catch this light. Hopefully I don't get clipped in a car accident. Yeah. Now we're, let those cars pass. Yep, made it over here. So get to the bike lane. It's got full of gravel. All right, so now we're on Neptune Avenue. It's a new dealership. You know, I could reach out to them and see if there's anything worthwhile doing, but the fact they got a bunch of brand new cars out here in this low income area means they're doing something right. Jaguar services, luxury cars. You do have a lot of Russians, old school Russians from back in the day, made their money. Now they're chilling in old age over here. Some of they're chilling. They like that kind of stuff. This is what I was talking about. All these auto mechanic shops. Right now we're on Neptune Avenue. Auto care. Got a wheel alignment. Got my boy over here doing tricks. Wheel alignment, motorcycles. There's like gravel on this road, so I don't bust my ass. We got more tire shops, auto repairs. And right over there's a little plaza. What do you got over there? Grocery, decor, Domino's Pizza, global paint shops, hardware. This is the other thing is people that live over here in Neptune, on this right side is more private houses, private buildings. Over there's a lot of contractors, general contractors, construction work. There's a Home Depot over there in Cropsey where they do a lot of their shopping. A lot of renovations for the private businesses here. But again, same thing, medical, pharmacy, food, fast food. That's like the common theme here of business. All low ticket sales, high volume, no high ticket premium stuff. I guess that would be pretty much general contractors. The construction guys, maybe the car mechanic guys, they would sell more higher ticket services like car repairs or modifications and stuff. So let's take a look. This right here is Stillwell Avenue. This is where we just saw the train station on the other side on Surf. This whole thing is the train station. This here is Stillwell. Got 1 second left. This here again is more tire shop, signs and printing. Now we got more private business over here. Signs and printing, Mother's Day flower stores, more tire shops, motor centers, auto repair centers, convenience stores, glass repair. All this is like Auto Boulevard. Everything here is cars, automatic mechanics, and it's like this all the way to like pretty much down Neptune. Laundromats, and these are all more private kind of houses over here. So let's just go down this street, see what we're looking at. I've never actually been here before. Auto sales, forget about it. We in Brooklyn, see more auto shops. Everything out here is auto mechanic, auto collisions. And these are all like apartments and rentals and houses where a lot of the contractors, they live here, they work here, and they get a house out here, rent it out, make some money. Very handy demographic of people that go with their hands. Like I said, a lot of Russians, Ukrainians, people from Europe, Slavic people. Got some Spanish people out here. I guess mostly the Europeans and the Russians, they get into doing like the auto mechanic stuff, and the Spanish people mostly go into construction. For the most part, what I've seen out here, whenever we requested the handyman services, it was either actually Spanish guys or Chinese guys. Anything with cars out here, mostly Russian, and then Spanish guys would be at the wheel shops, like the actual motors and engines, mostly Russian. I'm not saying 100%, but mostly it's been like that for a while. And this here is, I've never been on the street, but this is another old building over here. So he's towing, I think those are the impound. But yeah, this is all pretty much Coney Island out here. That's how Coney Island looks, just kind of a busted place. Probably rent this out for like $2K a month, Airbnb. Maybe I can find the owner of that and rent it out, get him some nice, beautiful photography. But this is basically how the buildings used to be back in the day. This is like definitely 1930s. You see, you can look at the tops of the building like that. You can see the architecture. So yeah, whenever you see that, like that old school type of architecture, you know these like 1920s, 1930s buildings. They've been out, and that's like a 1970s building over here, 1940s on that corner. Oh, it's a big bug trying to bite me, but this is like a scrapyard over here. Scrapyard, junkyard. I think this is a Raymore and Flanagan. Also a lot of towing service companies, a lot of towing services, scrap yards. There's a couple of self-storage places out here. This is another, road's too busted, but more auto body shops, auto shops. I guess we'll test the station. Cropsey's over here. You go over this bridge, get to the Belt Parkway Highway. There's a Home Depot right there, where most people buy their supplies at. I think there's like a shopping bazaar, like a plaza, like a food place over here. AutoZone for lease. Everything here is for lease. Everything here is for rent. Very stagnant economy out here. Yeah, Raymore and Flanagan, that's what I meant. It's either corporate, oh, it's Big Dead Rat. Welcome to New York City. And yeah, that's pretty much, yeah, that's what we got going on here. The AutoZone, All the car guys shop over there. And you got a couple gas stations. This whole area is gas station city. Home Depot is right over there. That's Cropsey. That's going straight to the Bell Parkway Highway. There's a big super center. I'm not going to go there. And this here is the gas stations. After gas stations, you go down Cropsey and you try to find a deal. Not Cropsey, but you come down Cropsey and you get to Neptune. And you see all these gas stations lined up. Try to find a deal. We got the best gas and just old school mechanics. This is pretty much Neptune. So I'm curious, I should check out all these guys, hit them up, see how business is. I've never done any work with any of these guys, so I really have no idea. Everything I find is gonna be on ChatGPT and just a couple conversations. But I'm probably gonna start here on Neptune because I speak Russian and it's kind of a way in the door because I speak Russian, I speak fluent English. That's probably gonna be my wedge here in Coney Island as a native American speaker, Russian speaker that understands marketing and all that stuff. Right now, this is it. See all these different car places, car repairs, camper setups. Hopefully I don't trip on this cable. These are just a bunch of busted cars. Auto service, everything here is auto. But yeah, if you got auto, it means that there's people trying to get work done. Everybody out here got a rent. That's the thing. That's one thing I want to mention. Everybody out here in Brooklyn is leasing or financing a nice car. They got BMWs, Mercedes, Audis, nice cars. So they're spending money always. So I want to work with businesses that have constant cash flow. They got money coming in always. When they got money coming in, they've got enough to pay for marketing services and stuff. Everybody needs to fix their cars. Everybody needs to wash their cars, especially when you're, see, everybody got right here. We got Infinity. That's a nice brand new Mazda for sure. That's a lease car over there. Everybody out here is leasing, making like $5K a month and dropping $1,000 on their car payments. That's Brooklyn for you. Got a lot of accidents, a lot of kids out here just flexing and drunk driving. That's why I always drive safe here when I come to Coney Island. And Brooklyn, drive super safe. Always turn your head left and right. Even if it's a one-way street, I always look both ways. Yeah, this is Auto Boulevard, Neptune Avenue. Back in the day, used to have a lot of Russian mob out here. You have like these Russian boys extorting people, extorting businesses, offering them street protection. Back, you know, as a kid, younger guy, played Russian characters, mafia guys on TV, and one of the Russian movies I played in was based on a true story about this Russian mafia. That's why I know all this stuff, because they would have, you know, they'd offer kind of street protection for a lot of these businesses. I'm sure it's a lot of new businesses now, but basically the Russian mafia here on Brighton Beach, they all came here in the 90s. They used to control Neptune, and basically you pay street tax, just straight up extortion. That's kind of what was going on out here on Neptune. But now it's been long gone. I'd say this last 20 years has been pretty quiet out here, pretty peaceful. Not much mob activity. I say the only real gang activity would be over there where we started in the projects. You've got a couple different gangs. You know, they got their own drug feuds and disputes and violence and stuff, but for the most part, I'd say they don't really mess with the public people. You're just out here during the day minding your own business. No one's gonna really give you problems. You know, as long as you just walk with your head up and just walk straight and just mind your own business and don't look at people weird way, you'll be good. So unless you're also gang banging and selling drugs and doing bullshit, then yeah, you're gonna attract that kind of trouble. But that's not what this video is about. We're out here to make 5K ethically and legitimately through value-driven services out here in the hood. So that's what we're doing. And we're just kind of cruising. I want to actually make a right over here and show you the bay is. It's like an ancient submarine. As the water's over there. And remember I told you at the beginning of the video, Coney Island used to look like this. That's why Seagate, where we started, was a private residence, because the whole thing looked like what I'm about to show you in just a moment. See another car place. Window tinting. Everything here is car related. Neptune is like car boulevard. These are like private residences. And I guess we'll go over here. I actually want to go over here. That's where the better view is. I want to show you what Coney Island used to look like and why it was so hard to get here. Nobody would come here. That's why it used to be a private luxury resort and hotel, and especially inside of Seagate and by the boardwalk at the Brighton Hotel, because the whole Coney Island looked like this, which you will see in just a moment. It was like a marsh, a swampland. This is a Russian bread store. They got pretty good bread. My friend used to work here. I actually had one of my first job interviews over here in these buildings. There's like some kind of logistics company. I think it was in one of these buildings over here. I don't even know if they're still here. But I had a job interview back in 2016. I was super broke, and I was broke as fuck. The guy's like, "What's your goal here at our company?" And I said, "Eventually, I'm going to run this place." He just laughed. And he said, "Thank you, sir. Have a nice day." Might have actually been these guys. I don't know. Discover Group. Maybe now I'll come back and they'll be one of my clients. Wouldn't that be funny if they became one of my clients? We did some type of marketing thing. But here, this is what I'm talking about. This is pretty much the bay. I think someone lives over there in the boat. But this is the Coney Island Bay, the water. I'm gonna skate right now over here. Hopefully I don't fall in the water. Hopefully I don't bust my ass into this. But this is basically how Coney Island used to look. Used to just be, hi. Used to just be kind of like a big swamp like that, murky swamp, overgrown bushes. And that's actually a sunken boat right there. There's a sunken boat, a lot of sunken boats over here. If you look all the way over to that yellow, I got some drone footage. That yellow is actually a submarine. Back over there is the Verrazano Bridge. But this whole area used to be like this, just overgrown, no concrete, no nothing. The whole place was just a marsh, kind of like how this boatyard is over here. Like nobody would come here. Actually, I think the name Coney Island, it started off kind of with the people that lived here, like the Indians. I think Coney meant like rabbit. It was a rabbit island, like a lot of rabbits, and they would hunt rabbits here. And this whole place was just covered with rabbits, and people would hunt rabbits and eat them. And there was no train station. There was nothing going on. Nobody could get here. So that's why originally they would get here by boat, and they built kind of the Seagate private residences where the Rockefellers and all those, you know, billionaire tycoons would live. And then slowly they started kind of branching out. They started off kind of at the Brighton area where the hotel is, the amusement parks. And then they started kind of branching out to West End where we were earlier today to build little apartments and shacks to live, because most of these people would work at the amusement park, they'd work at the hotels, and then they'd live with like 10 people in these little tenements, these little apartments, and that's where they would basically hustle and bustle and grind. I'd say Coney Island at one point was like super free market. It was like the hub of the world over here. It's like super amusement park. Now it's kind of a desolate place. That's like a community garden. Hopefully my battery doesn't die. I want to cover Mermaid, which I guess I will right now. So this over here is a public school, but basically right now this is a public garden. This is a public school, Mark Twain, I think. Yeah, Mark Twain. It's like a middle school for talented and gifted children. And then over there's another public school. A lot of public schools out here. And as I mentioned, I'm not really looking to work with anything government related. I'm not looking to work with any public enterprise, mainly because, not public enterprise, public entities, because mainly you got to go through so much middle management, unions, all this protocol, all this stuff. That's why right now with this challenge, I'm looking to work with straight up private business, especially since I'm trying to do this in 30 days. I'm not saying that government projects don't pay you money, because you've got these developers that have made millions and billions of dollars. So obviously there's grants and stuff, but the timelines on those are a lot long term. For me in this challenge, offering productized services and quick returns and quick wins is what's going to help me get there. So this is like schools, and then now we're going towards again to Seagate's all the way at the end over there. And this is again more residential area. This is like a park. Now I'm watching these streets because there's a lot of bumps and I want to bust my ass again. So now I'm going to just kind of skate through this because this is all just houses. Usually there's like a soup kitchen over here. Usually it's like a donation, public faith and hope and love. Always a soup line over here. I guess today they're not working. Oh, there's a church right there. Yes, a church, that's why. But then over here you got the public park. These were actually all built in the 1970s. 1970s housing, multifamilies. And I'd say this part is more middle class, lower middle class. Everybody here is working families, all got jobs in the city, like bus drivers, lower management, middle management. In the projects is where you got more of like the lower jobs here, or they're completely unemployed, or they're just seniors and disabled, or they're not working. So not much economic activity. But these houses constantly, you know, need fixes, handyman stuff, repair services. There's no like, you know, luxury like cleaning and power washing stuff because people don't got money like that out here. Once you go inside Seagate, that's where you may explore some luxury services like power washing and cleaning. Oh wow, it's a pet grooming, grill. But like all these power washing, lawn care, all that stuff, usually that's for more higher end upscale houses. These are all just kind of, even though these are all houses like multifamily, most of them are rentals, so the owner doesn't even live there, so they're usually just trying to rent them out and do as cheap maintenance as they can. So that's why if I'm gonna find any like deals for like contractors or people, I'm gonna try to get these people linked up buildings that are more in different areas, maybe not even in Coney Island, maybe like towards Brighton or Manhattan Beach or something. But this is actually the projects over here. There's some projects. My boy used to live here. We used to skip school. He didn't live in this building. We lived further down. We used to skip school and just drink and smoke top rolling tobacco. It was like $3 a pack. We used to smoke top, and we were so broke we used to smoke blunt wrap. I used to buy the Dutch Masters for $1 and smoke the Dutch Masters as a kid. So that's what we do out here in the hood for entertainment. So now we're basically approaching this plaza. Got another urgent care, a home care. I think it's like it's a pharmacy. That's a pharmacy. There used to be a Chinese restaurant, now it's closed. Now it's a dental care. So more medical. You got the Key Food over there, another supermarket, and there's another supermarket over there on Mermaid, which we'll see in just a moment, and more housing, multifamily, pharmacies, home care. Oh, that's like mopeds and stuff. This is actually a really good dentist. I went there a few times. She's really good. Even though she's I think she's mixed private and Medicaid, which is really good. And good old Key Food. And then you've got the Hood Deli on the corner. Best sandwiches. And now at the bottom is Seagate, where we started. Gonna actually go down right now to the end. That's the deli. That's more public housing. Parking lot. Gonna just get to Mermaid. So I'm gonna pop to the left. So there's Seagate. It has two entrances. This is like the Neptune entrance, which is like residential, and then the main gate was over there. Now we're gonna go this way because I believe there is a sauna, a private business sauna over here. I think there's a spa, the Ruskaya Banya, the Russian banyas over here. They're not part of Seagate, but these buildings over here, I'll tell you, these are some of the original buildings. These are some of the oldest buildings here in Coney Island. I researched these. These were built like in the 1900s. These are old buildings. So back when the Rockefellers and all the billionaires were living over there, they were building these buildings. And you see how it's got that curved top over there? Now they're all kind of bare, just bare bone buildings. And they've got that castle look. They used to look like castles, you know? Now they're all kind of run down. So these have been renovated in the front, but the backs are all pretty old. I remember I checked the dates on all these buildings. These are all like 1910s, 1920s. These buildings are 100 years old. These are like 1940s, 50s. These are new buildings. Fire department, got the Mermaid Spa. A bus business. Thomas buses, yellow cab buses, could be something for us. Now we're back to, these are 1970s homes. There we go, what's gonna find you? So this is a spa, private business by appointment only. Can't even walk in, you gotta get an appointment. I've been there a few times, not recently, but they could be something. A lot of Russian people here, nice Mercedes chilling. Could be a business opportunity over here. This used to be a mechanic shop, but now it's out of business. And now we're gonna go on Mermaid Avenue. Mermaid right here, if my battery doesn't die. This is probably the most commercial activity zone here. Start off with some housing, senior center, elderly living place. Can actually drive against traffic so I don't get hit from behind. See assisted living. All my guys are here chilling. You've got a few medical practice businesses in there. Foot doctor, physical therapy, another doctor, pharmacy supplies, medical center. See, I said everything out here is medical. It's all Medicaid. Everything out here is government subsidized. Pediatrics. This whole building, this is all like senior living, solace pharmacy. Medicaid writes out the prescriptions. These houses were built, I think, like in the 70s and 80s. Same as these. Once we go, I think another 2 blocks, that's when all the businesses start popping up. Delis, bodegas, as we have right here. Mini Mart. I think they got shut down. Laundromats, 99-cent stores. Got pharmacies. Got delis and groceries. More housing over here. We got the cops over here watching the corner. Now they basically just got cops in every corner. And yeah, it's safer, but it's not really safer. It's still kind of like that feeling where it's not pleasant. Like cops on every corner, you can't really do anything. Even if you're not doing nothing wrong, it's still kind of unpleasant to have cops everywhere. Like you naturally don't have safety. It's like you need to have police force, otherwise nothing goes on. Well, otherwise this right here is where we've got some wine and liquor store. This right here, T-Mobile. Popeyes, Gyro, Dunkin'. That was a ShopRite that went out of business. So these are all corporate franchises again. Franchises. Russian shop, Washington Cherry. I buy Russian food here sometimes. And then you've got a couple banks. Beauty supply, 99-cent stores. Drugstores. Empty buildings, empty enterprise. Banks, I hate that Citibank. Don't go there. Go anywhere else except that Citibank. And another dental place. And you got my girl over here selling flowers. I always buy her flowers. Good deals, good flowers over here on Mermaid. And then you've got a big grocery store over here. That's a big supermarket over there. Usually I prefer key food anyway. Yeah, I got delis, that's just housing. Delis. That's pretty much the common theme out here is delis, old buildings, food trucks, Mermaid optical, glasses stores, medical, 99-cent stores, bargain land. Everything has to be a deal out here. 99 Express, Chinese food, beauty salons, delis and fried chicken. Another deli over here, worship center, post office, and then maybe that pizzeria, more small business. This is what we got going on out here in Coney Island, West End. Food choices, another place going out of business for lease. Common theme out here, physical therapy, VIM clothing stores and delis. So you get if you're a business owner trying to open up a business out here, not only are you paying high rents, you're dealing with all of New York's regulations and laws and unions and taxes and all this stuff, paperwork just to get your business started. And then you're in the hood where there's no money or there's low income flow and you can't really open up a nice business here. And then you've got security concerns, property taxes and all this stuff. So it's like the government it's a disincentive to even open up a business here. So kind of curious what we find out here. Injury lawyers, maybe I'll give him a call for busting my ass earlier. Brooklyn delis, spas, nail salons. A lot of the same type of businesses, but just different names. Delis and delis and delis and delis and quick checks. Delis. Gonna hopefully squeeze through this. Looks like there's a fire over there. Oh, I want to bust my ass. Chicken, Western Union, checks cashing, delis, more 99-cent stores. So yeah, that's kind of life out here in the hood. This is like a police out here. Police activity, fire engagement. Hopefully I can squeeze through. Oh, looks like this guy's car got booted. That sucks. That's why I'm on skates. This car got booted. That's life out here in the hood. A lot of revenue collection out here. That's why the cops are constantly writing tickets. You got these camera enforcements. That's the only way the government knows how to make money out here, is to tax people and penalize them and punish them and shake them down and arrest them, get them to pay fines and penalties. That's why there's so much resistance out here against law enforcement, because law enforcement out here in New York City is incentivized to just generate revenue and collect revenue. Instead of, be upstanding, check and serve, they're encouraged to write tickets and penalize and fine and generate revenue, to fund all these programs, to fund a lot of these affordable houses and welfare and stuff, which ironically cause more harm and trouble. So it's a whole other episode. Coney Island here in a nutshell. I guess the moral of the story is whatever government touches turns to shit. Private enterprise and private business is what prevails. So over here, we are approaching the Pogie House. The Pogie Boys, the benefits club over here. You got the EBTs, get your food stamps over here, get your free Obama phone. I think they're giving out Obama phones. All kinds of free benefits. Maybe I'll get me an Obama phone today. Oh, jewelry and used products. Yeah, this right here is the SNAP Center. Yeah, it's the benefit office. Probably could just roll in and pick me out. Medical. There's more delis. Yeah, and I'll make a whole other episode about it, but it's almost like a trap. And I've spent this last year dealing with my grandmother and all of her public program and stuff. She passed away in March, but I saw how these government programs, with well intentions, they actually trap people into poverty, because they force you to have less than $2,000. They make you report all your income and expenses, and it's how are you supposed to save up any money and improve your job or your skills if you're constantly being punished and at risk of losing your programs as soon as your income goes over the threshold? There's no period of time to save up your money and transition out of it. So a lot of people here, they get trapped, they get stuck. And that's a whole other episode. Today's video is about making 5K in the hood, and hopefully we can hit this goal, because I want to show you guys that it doesn't have to always be about hustling and scheming and triple beaming and finessing the government programs. There's a lot of value-driven exchanges out there, value-driven transactions. And as hard as it may seem, we're gonna look for some opportunity here in the hood, because there's always opportunity. And that's what this challenge is about. We are almost at the end of Mermaid, and as you see, it's the same old delis and laundromats and bodegas and fast food. I used to eat this Chinese buffet over there. They closed it down 10 years ago. More banks and restaurants. So when I get home, I'm gonna actually review this footage. I'm gonna review Google Map, and I'm gonna do some research, some R&D on these businesses, see if there's any owners that own multiple businesses, and maybe I could connect with some of these top dogs, some of these players, work out some deals with them, pitch them some offers. If you got a deal that makes sense, everybody's about making money, everybody's about saving money, and that's what we are doing in this challenge. Accident attorneys, lots of accident attorneys, immigration attorneys. That could be something I'll reach out to potentially. A lot of construction going on out here. These dollar cabs are all slowly dying and going out of business because Uber put them all out. I remember back in the day, they were 15 years ago, they were blown up. You could always catch a dollar cab. Now they got Uber. And then over here, you just got, another deli and stuff. I say you meet a lot of interesting people out here in the hood. It's not so bad how people say, oh, it's dangerous, it's ghetto, it's low income. I mean, yeah, but I made a lot of good friends out here. I grew up here. It's not so bad after all. That's what you make of it. A lot of interesting stories, a lot of interesting buildings and architecture. A lot of the times when you're in these supposed low-income areas with poverty and crime and stuff, people didn't start like that. They usually start becoming conditioned like that because their environment and their surroundings. They all started off with good dreams and good intentions, and then they get sidetracked. So yeah, today's day 2. What's next? As I said, I'm gonna review the footage. I'm gonna check out what I come up with yesterday on Google Maps. On ChatGPT, I kind of put together some research of pain points and things these people struggle with. And the next thing I have to do, I guess tomorrow will be my day of research, R&D. Maybe shoot some messages, shoot some emails to them, put together some sort of offer just to get familiar with them, because I don't know anything. Right now, I honestly don't know nothing. I have no idea what day in life is like for these businesses. I have no idea what they're dealing with, because the biggest problem I had in the past, especially as somebody with a digital background, is you think that you can solve everything. You think that your digital production, your marketing, your Facebook ads is your one-stop shop solution to the world, but it's not like that. People have their own problems, their own specific issues and circumstances, and it's my job to just ask questions and see if there's a mutual fit. I'm gonna do some research. What's the stop sign? Oh man! Tomorrow I'm gonna put together some offers, and then I guess after tomorrow I'm going to actually go and walk to these businesses and talk to them and just say, hey, what's up, Mike? Can help you make money or save money? Definitely not lose money. That's kind of where we're at. I read this really great book by Mark Douglas. It's about stock trading. There's more about psychology, about not being biased toward opportunity. Because in the past, again, I mentioned that you always like, you know that one thing, you have that one skill, and you start trying to apply that one skill to everybody instead of just listening to people. And it's like going to a doctor and like you're sick and you're coughing, and the doctor starts diagnosing you and saying, oh, now you gotta do surgery, you gotta do this and this and this, before even listening to you. And that's something I was super guilty of in the past. If I saw you were in real estate, oh, you need content, you need to build a brand, you need to shoot your listings. If you're a business owner, it's like, oh, you gotta be on Google, you gotta do this and this. And sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes they don't need that. Sometimes it's another issue. So that's why this time in this challenge, I don't want to prescribe. I don't want to just diagnose people without listening. I want to be familiar with their industry, and then I want to actually talk to them. Completely neutral, completely ignore and forget about my skills and what I can do. Just listen to what they're doing and see if there's anything we can do. Maybe it doesn't even have to involve my skills. Maybe it's a totally different thing. That's what I want to do after tomorrow. Tomorrow will be day 3, and then day 4. On day 4, I want to actually hit the field. Based on today's research, I'm going to start with, again, I think it's probably going to be the auto zone mechanic people and the contractors. But we'll see. We'll see what my research comes up with. We'll see who the players are. Once we get familiar, then we got to hit the streets. And I know a lot of people say don't limit yourself to your local market, but I think your local market definitely has this huge advantages, especially when you grew up there, you're familiar with it, speak the language, and you can't ignore somebody when they're up in your face. You got to give me an answer, yes or no. That's kind of the pros of doing good old-fashioned cold marketing up in the street. Let's see if we can do a trick over here. Oh, nah, I'm not gonna get on that. I'll see you guys tomorrow in day 3. Let's go.